Hello, Gemini, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of November 9th through the 15th. And during that time, we'll have a waning gibbous moon. And that means we're coming off that full moon energy. It's a really good time for self-reflection and rebirth, a time to make positive changes and have the potential to grow. We can get rid of bad habits and negative thinking during this time. We then also have the last quarter moon that comes in on the 13th and the 14th. And that's also a deeper time for reflection, really releasing what no longer serves us and kind of looking around to see, what we want to make changes for in the next cycle. So, we might take responsibility for our past actions and say, okay, we, did this thing and maybe that didn't work. Let's make those adjustments. So keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for the energies that you may or may not encounter, Gemini. So as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. And your overall message for this particular reading, that's really funny. Adjustments are required. Yes, sometimes these cards have a sense of humor. So here it is, the perfect time to be making adjustments, third quarter moon. And here we are with the card that comes up for you. So make those adjustments. And, it's always about doing better on the next cycle, right? Okay, Gemini, as I'm shuffling the cards, I would like to say that my weekly reminder this week is that you keep a spiritual journal. Sometimes we don't recognize the patterns that are evolving in our life when it comes to our spiritual experiences. So keeping a journal of those things, and this could be things that you learn like synchronicities, this could be dreams that you have, or maybe notes from a book that you've read. I'm trying to think of what else I put in mine. Sometimes if I learn what a particular angel number might mean, I might jot that down in my journal. Just things that you're learning, encounters that you have, that sort of thing. But I'll tell you what, it's a really good thing to have as you kind of look back through it, or I do every once in a while and go, oh, there's something I did put that into practice and I have noticed a change in my life. Or I learned this thing and then I forgot to put that into practice. So it's just kind of a good way as you're evolving to kind of look back and check yourself and go back over those things that you've maybe learned and maybe forgot about. And again, just a good way to help you on your growth. So that is my fun message for you this week. And let's get into this reading, Gemini, November 9th through the 15th. Adjustments are required. Let's see where the Gemini Collective needs to make some adjustments. All right, your overall card for this week is, apparently this is going to be the star of the week. This must be the week of a little bit of conflict because you're my third reading and the third time I've seen this card in differing positions. So it seems like a week for words to come out that may be a little hurtful, things that need to be said, truths. Are you the sayer of those words or the receiver? Could be either way with the card in this position. But again, if you are the speaker of things that just need to be said that might be hurtful to others, you can see these people in the background here that this one's turning away after these swords were put down, these words or these messages. So maybe you're kind of holding back a little bit because not all the swords are down, if that's you. But just be sensitive. Again, if you're having to say something that's a little hard for someone else to hear, try to be as sensitive as you can. If you're on the hearing end of that, take a breath, take the information in, don't judge too quickly, hear people out. So that's my advice there. Your current situation is the Four of Cups. I'm just whacking my camera around here. There we go. The Four of Cups. So whatever this is leaving you a little bit dissatisfied. Again, it depends if you're the speaker or the receiver of those words. This could be you. And of course, you're a little dissatisfied. Maybe there's just some information or truth coming out that you didn't want to hear right now. So sometimes it's never good to be on really either end of that when things are uncomfortable, but it's part of life, right? So you have to kind of learn how to manage it. And if you have to make adjustments because of something someone said, then go ahead and make those adjustments. Sometimes, what do they say? The truth hurts. And sometimes it hurts to say it just as much as receive it. At the root of your situation is the Ace of Wands. So Ace of Wands is something like new passion. This is a big yes. This could be something that you're saying yes to, but um, and it could just be something that you're newly passionate about. And again, words are exchanged because of that, right? Let's say that, I don't know, maybe there's a health practice that you're newly passionate about, and you say, to your spouse, maybe you should go and run 5 miles with me. And if you were my spouse and you said that, I'd be like, yeah, right. You and there are words exchanged because of it, right? That's just my example, but could be something you're passionate about it. Maybe not everybody around you is as passionate about it. So just go easy on those that are not, or those people that don't really feel like running 5 miles. So in your recent, that's just an example, by the way, in your recent past, a little bit of self-indulgence here and feeling good and feeling like you're patting yourself on the back a little bit. And that could definitely be something that led to that, maybe this new passion. You're just feeling good about something, some accomplishment or something. And again, if this, at the root of this problem is this new passion, again, there's something you're a little disappointed about. It feels like it somehow is conflicting with some other people or in your realm. What is on your mind this week is the High Priestess. So you're definitely looking around the universe and wondering, let me readjust this camera again. You're definitely, on your mind are these signs from the universe, like I said, about keeping a spiritual journal. It could be that a dream comes in for you that inspires a lot of this. Maybe that's where this new idea comes from, is from some dream that you're having. Um, but there's maybe a synchronicity, or um, just something. There's something out there, and it comes to you more in a mysterious way. The High Priestess is about things that do come to you in, again, like in the dark of the night, like a dream. It's not something that's very clear. You might have to really wade through the world to see that message somewhere, but it's kind of on your mind. Like you've seen something and it's had some sort of effect. It could be a book that came to you and you picked it up, read a few pages, and it was something that did apply to this situation. And so you're at least pondering, but it's not information that comes to us in the conventional manner. What is just ahead of you this week is the Lover's card. So that's nice. So maybe you're getting to spend some extra time with your special someone, and that's always good. Maybe you need an escape from whatever this situation is going on, and that's always the person, right, that we all want to go to when things are crappy. You have your partner there to make you laugh, or go have fun and kind of forget the world a little bit with. So that's very nice. I like that. Let's see. In your advice position is the King of Swords. So the King of Swords. This is like our Mr. Spock. This is speak logically, think logically. This is just use your logic. Use your logic in this entire situation. That's something that you're going to have to do. That it just needs that. And so the words that you speak, again, if this is you speaking, it's coming from a place of logic. It's like, well, duh, it seems logical. Of course, I'm going to say this thing to you. But again, if you can be kind, sometimes that logic comes off as a little bit cold, right? Like Spock, without really much emotion. So make sure you're just kind of thinking before you say things, because you don't want to end up in this dissatisfied position, which it looks like you may. So, what is beyond your control this week is some ultimate happiness. So I think this is all going to work out eventually here with this 10 of Cups, because this is our happy card in the deck. This happy family, happy life, everything's just awesome. And that's kind of beyond your control. So even with whatever's going on, whatever conflict or something, and it could be that this is work, but home is awesome, right? It could be as simple as that maybe there's just words exchanged at work and you're a little bit dissatisfied, but you come home to your spouse and your family and everything's awesome. So that's great. Can't ask for more there. What is your secret desire, or what you're trying to avoid, is the Three of Pentacles, which is our card of, collaborative creativity, coming together. Typically this is work related, that you're creatively solving things. So are you trying to avoid, solving some issue like that? Or is it your secret desire to come up with some creative solution? So that'll be your big question of the week. So be thinking about that a little bit. In your outcome position is the Queen of Wands. So you're definitely going to be in a place where you understand the passions of other people around you. I'm going to go back to these cards again. especially this card, that you kind of understand the situation there. Again, you're probably going to say something that is logical, but do you need to apply a little bit of emotion? You've got these cups here to call on. You may be dissatisfied, but you've got some extra cups there. Let's remember what it felt like to be absolutely satisfied here, and what's the difference between the satisfaction that you just had and that dissatisfaction, and try to bridge the gap there a little bit. What is hidden from you this week is the World card. So this is our card of perfect balance. So things are a little out of balance for you this week. And that makes sense with, like I said, I feel like this could be a work situation, these cards, but you come home and everything's fine. And that's not perfect balance. That's balance at home, but maybe not balance with your work life or your passion life. If there's some other side project, there's just some other things that are a little more tense going on, but you get home and you're like, life is okay. So keep that in mind as we move through the week. Let's see what your final message is here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final words for Gemini, as I would say they're in almost perfect balance, but knocked off a little kilter a little bit at some point this week. I think it ends up well. All right, final message here is the creative no. The creative no. And I'm going to say that maybe that does apply to this work situation, right? Something here, something had to be said, and it's creative. There's our card of creative coming together. So maybe you creatively do say no to something. And what is the creative no? That's saying no without really saying no. It's just throwing a roadblock in something so that it doesn't really work out, right? Being creative about it, not really saying no, but um, maybe saying yes to something else that gets you closer to what you want. Okay, if that makes any sense. Let's see what Gemini needs to do in the way of self-care. Self-care for Gemini this week. And the card you get is the card with 2 die on it, and it says risk. Take a chance. Every risk is a success when you're committed to learning and growth. Every risk is a success. So are you taking a risk by saying this thing? Perhaps. Do you need to come up with the creative no in this situation? Could be. Those will be your big questions of the week. Again, you're a little bit off balance this week. Not totally, because I feel like your home life is really great. So maybe work might be a little bit, like, again, there might be words exchange, things where you're just a little bit dissatisfied. But again, you come home to happy, healthy home, and that's really all that really matters. The work things, I guarantee you it'll be something else next week. It always is, right? So, Gemini, thank you so much for being here with me. Again, your overall card where adjustments are required. So, figure out where you do need to make those adjustments, and then think about how you can change, when we approach the new moon and it's time for new beginnings and things, how, if there's something going on in your life in that way, how to approach it differently. For the next cycle, so that it doesn't have the outcome. So it has a better outcome, and you're not dissatisfied about it, but you're just elated and overwhelmed about how great and how much of a turn it made for you. So again, thanks so much for being here. If you're comfortable sharing, drop me a comment down below. Let me know, what kind of things were you dealing with at work this week? Was it a work home difference? Was work kind of crappy, but home was awesome? Let me know. I'd be curious to know if I read that right in these cards. Also, if you like my reading style, please click the like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel, but more importantly, Gemini, it'll help you find me next week, where you can come back and see if this story continues or if there's something completely new here for you next week. So thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.